Imagine standing under a vast, starlit sky, contemplating the universe's mysteries. We gaze out, wondering, is life unique to Earth, or does it exist in forms unimaginable to us, hidden in distant corners of the cosmos? Today, we dive into one of humanity's most captivating questions. Do unknown forms of life exist? The limits of our imagination, earth-bound microbes to towering sequoias. Life as we know it is varied yet based on familiar chemistry. Carbon atoms, water as a solvent, and DNA to code it all. Our understanding of life is bound by our experiences here, so much so that we might overlook life if it were based on a completely different structure. Yes, unknown forms of life do exist. They might not resemble anything we know. They could be unrecognizable, even invisible, hidden in dimensions or forms beyond our perception. For instance, take our search for planets that might support life. We look for what scientists call the habitable zone, where conditions are just right for water to exist in liquid form. But what if life doesn't need water, or even carbon? What if it exists under crushing pressures or scorching temperatures in environments that we deem uninhabitable? This leads us to an unsettling but exciting notion. The universe might be teeming with life, but it could be life that we lack the tools or the imagination to detect. Life beyond carbon, silicon, and beyond our life on Earth is based on carbon, a versatile element capable of forming complex molecules. But silicon, which shares similar bonding capabilities, has been proposed as an alternative. Silicon-based life forms might thrive in extreme environments, such as high-temperature volcanic regions. Silicon bonds are generally more stable at higher temperatures than carbon, so it's conceivable that on a planet much hotter than Earth, silicon-based organisms could flourish, but silicon life forms might also come with limitations. Unlike carbon, silicon struggles to form the diversity of complex molecules that life on Earth requires. This raises an intriguing question. If life could arise from silicon, would it necessarily have to be less complex than carbon-based life? Or could it develop a unique form of complexity, with attributes and behaviors entirely alien to us? Imagine a world where beings are made of crystalline silicon, communicating through patterns of light rather than sound. Their perception, their sensory experiences would be incomprehensible to us. Perhaps their intelligence manifests in ways that defy our understanding, guided by forms of consciousness we can barely imagine. Extremophiles, clues to the limits of life. To consider unknown forms of life, we need look no further than Earth's own extremophiles, organisms that live in conditions once thought impossible. In the crushing darkness of the deep ocean, by hydrothermal vents that reach scalding temperatures, we find life flourishing against all odds. In places devoid of sunlight, energy sources such as sulfur or even radiation can fuel life. These examples challenge our assumptions about what life needs. Extremophiles tell us that life's adaptability may far exceed our expectations. By studying these organisms, we get clues to the kind of life that might exist in extreme environments elsewhere in the universe. Take Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, which likely has an icy crust over a liquid ocean heated by tidal forces. If life can survive near Earth's hydrothermal vents, could similar forms thrive beneath Europa's ice? Or consider Titan, Saturn's moon, where lakes of liquid methane and ethane replace water. Could life exist here, using methane as a solvent instead of water? If so, it would be life utterly alien to us, with metabolic and structural properties we cannot yet fathom. The extremophiles of Earth, teach us that life's boundaries are broader than we once believed, and this might just be the beginning. The shadow biosphere. Life we cannot see. Some scientists propose the idea of a shadow biosphere on Earth itself, a parallel realm of life that exists right alongside us, but remains invisible. This hypothetical realm would consist of life forms with biochemistry so different from ours that they elude detection by traditional methods. If such a shadow biosphere exists, it would challenge our definitions of life. For example, there could be forms of life that do not rely on DNA or RNA for heredity, instead using unknown molecules or processes to replicate and evolve. They could exist in niches we have not examined, or perhaps within environments where they do not compete directly with carbon-based life. Imagine organisms that are not made of cells as we know them, perhaps relying on structures we can't yet comprehend. This shadow biosphere could be thriving in places like hot deserts, undersea vents, or even within Earth's own rocky crust. Its discovery would not only revolutionize biology, but also expand our understanding of life's potential in the universe. Consciousness without biology. Life as pure information. One of the most intriguing ideas is that life might not require matter at all, existing instead as patterns of information. Some theorists suggest that consciousness could exist independently of biological processes, perhaps as a kind of self-organizing information. In such a scenario, life might arise within complex systems like a computer network, a planetary atmosphere, or even the mind of a sufficiently advanced artificial intelligence. If we consider life as fundamentally an arrangement of information and energy rather than a collection of organic molecules, then the potential forms of life become nearly limitless. Consciousness itself could become the defining characteristic of life, manifesting wherever complexity reaches a certain threshold. This perspective brings us to the edge of known science and into the realm of the speculative. Could there be entities within our own technology, patterns of information that evolve, learn, and even develop self-awareness? What if, as we build increasingly complex networks, life emerges within them, a life that perceives us as only dimly as we might perceive the faintest star in the sky? Ancient myths of non-human life forms. Interestingly, the idea of unknown life forms has always been part of human culture. Many ancient myths speak of beings that exist on another plane or dimension, living parallel to us but largely unseen. Whether they are spirits, gods, or creatures of myth, these beings often play a role that bridges the human and the supernatural, the seen and the unseen. Take, for example, the concept of jinn in Middle Eastern folklore, entities created from smokeless fire, capable of existing in places where humans cannot see. In Hindu and Buddhist traditions, there are realms populated by beings of energy rather than flesh, each representing a different level of consciousness. Even Western traditions include accounts of angels, spirits, and elementals that exist beyond our material world. These myths, while ancient, seem to hint at a persistent intuition that life exists in forms beyond our comprehension. Could they represent glimpses into a wider reality, where consciousness and existence are not confined to biological organisms, dark matter, and the hypothetical realm of invisible life? Modern astrophysics brings another tantalizing possibility into the picture: dark matter. This mysterious substance, making up about 85% of the universe's mass, is invisible and interacts with ordinary matter only weakly. Could dark matter itself harbor life forms, existing in parallel to us but imperceptible to our senses? If life could develop within the dark matter realm, It might consist of beings that pass through stars and planets without noticing them, just as neutrinos pass through us unnoticed. This life would not only be invisible to us, but might operate on principles of physics entirely alien to our understanding. The idea of dark matter life invites us to consider a universe filled with invisible civilizations, coexisting with us yet never intersecting with our own. Imagine if, one day, we discovered evidence of dark matter life, a glimpse into a parallel existence that has unfolded right beside ours, life beyond the physical. Consciousness as the final frontier. Finally, we come to the idea that life could exist purely as consciousness, beyond any physical form. This concept appears in many spiritual traditions, where consciousness is seen as the essence of all existence, manifesting in myriad forms across dimensions. If consciousness itself is the foundation of life, then the universe may be filled with conscious entities beyond our perception. Could there be realms where beings exist as pure awareness, exploring a reality that transcends the material? This brings us to the ultimate question. Is life about being, or is it about experiencing? If consciousness can exist without form, then perhaps the universe itself is alive, and every atom, every star, and every galaxy is part of an immense, interconnected web of awareness. In the end, the question of unknown forms of life remains one of the greatest mysteries of existence. Are we alone, or are we part of a vast, interconnected reality, one filled with life forms that we cannot yet see or understand? Each possibility invites us to expand our minds, to dream beyond what we know, and to embrace the profound mystery that surrounds us. As we peer into the cosmos, we find not just the potential for new forms of life, but perhaps new forms of understanding.